Nick Saban yesterday telling our Chris Lowe, quote, "I want to play, but I want to play for the players' sake, the value they can create for themselves. I know I'll be criticized no matter what I say, that I don't care about player safety. Look, players are a lot safer with us than they are running around at home. We have around a 2% positive ratio on our team since the 4th of July. It's a lot higher than that in society. We act like these guys can't get this unless they play football. They can get it anywhere, whether they're in a bar or just hanging out." So much to unpack, so much to react to this morning. David Pollack is back with us. Des stays with us, and Greg McElroy. And Des, I will start with you here on that, because I heard Saban say it, and Jim Harbaugh said a similar thing. And I'm trying to make up my own mind whether it makes sense, whether that is actually an excellent argument for keeping the kids there and letting them play. I will admit I'm violating the talk show host rule by saying I can't make up my own mind if he's right or not. So help me. Is he right?
Well, I think he has a point. He has a very good point. It's the same thing that Trevor Lawrence tweeted out 2 nights ago about the players being on campus are safer than they are at home. And I believe that there's some merit to that argument. But being on campus, are you on a campus that's just with the players as if it's like a bubble-like scenario, or are there students on campus too? Because, you know, some campuses are going to be online only, and some campuses are going to allow the students to be on campus. I heard Booger talk about it earlier. If you're going to have students on the campus also, then you have to understand that the risk is very higher at that point, because at some point they're going to mingle with those students, and those students, they might not be as disciplined, they might not be as committed to the social distancing, to all the rules and the regulations that the football players are under, because they're trying to have a season, whereas these kids, they may be having parties, they may be doing other things and not abiding by those same rules. So now you're putting them in a particular situation that may not be beneficial to them when you're trying to keep them away from the coronavirus. So I understand the argument about if they go home, you can't monitor them. They're not under your watchful eye. That is very true. But if you're on a campus that's going to allow students on campus too, you're going to have a similar type of scenario once the students come back.
Yes, I think that's an important point to remember here. Now, let me go back to David Pollack, because, David, we had you earlier this morning, and you commented on this part of the story. But the part that I've not yet had a chance to talk to you about, and again, you travel all over the country covering these games, is this idea of schools and conferences that cancel going off and playing their own schedules. I would really like a comment from you on that. Do I have David? I'm staring only at myself here. There we are. There's David Pollack. David, what is you heard Scott Frost, you heard James Franklin. Do you buy it? Do you buy the idea that if the Big Ten today votes not to play a fall football season, that Nebraska, Penn State, and maybe some others could call up the Big 12 or the SEC or somebody else and try and put together a different schedule? Do you buy it?
Heck yeah. This is business, bro. Of course. I mean, and I would too. I would be searching for my outlet. I would be searching for my avenue. I would literally be going, wait a minute. SEC's playing, ACC's playing, Big 12's playing. This is bogus. Notre Dame's playing in the ACC, and they have a chance to play for a championship. Like, we're an independent. Fine. Like, let me join. Let me get some games. So, you know, this is why the NCAA continues to get scrutinized, because the NCAA continues to miss the mark and continues to have uniformity or any opinions on a lot of things. So I think if I'm those teams, I'd be looking for work. James Franklin said it. I'm looking out for my kids. I'm trying to give them the best opportunity if they want to go play, which, by the way, the players have spoken loudly about the opportunity of wanting to play football. Heck yeah, I'm going to find it.
I think it is inarguable that if they decide they want to put together a college football season, they'll have enough players to play practically everywhere that wants to. That isn't, I think, up for debate. Greg, can they do it? Can you envision a world where this fall, and maybe this fall only, Alabama and Ohio State are playing for a conference championship or something that looks kind of like that?
I think it's possible, Greeny. And I also think, too, something that we haven't had a chance to discuss yet. I think a lot of people associated with the Big Ten are very concerned that if the Big Ten folds up the tent and they say, hey, we're going in the spring, or we're not playing at all here in the 2020-2021 academic calendar year, then what are these players, what's stopping them from transferring somewhere where they might have an opportunity to play? So, for instance, if you're an Ohio State player and you're wanting to play and you're wanting to be a part of this 2020 season, well, the Big Ten decides, you know what, we're not going to go. We can't do it. We can't risk it. Well, if the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC all say, hey, we're going. We're open for business. We're playing. then what's to stop right now them transferring from Ohio State to Auburn or Georgia or Florida? Because right now the NCAA is granting waivers to everybody, and that would be considered a hardship. Well, my school's not playing, they are. So that, I think, is an unforeseen circumstance. It's something that these coaches are probably mindful of when taking into account how it could affect their roster in the years to come.
Desmond, I got 60 seconds left. I'll give them to you. What is the NCAA's role in this, and what should it be? If they were to call you up and say, Des, you're a Heisman Trophy winner, help us. What should we be doing here about all of this? What should they be doing?
Greeny, it's interesting you asked that question because I was having this conversation last night. I think before this pandemic, we all assumed that Mark Emmert and the NCAA, that they were like the NFL and Roger Goodell, that this would be on their desk and that they would supervise everything and make sure that everything comes from one voice. Now we're really surprised that it's not like that at all. Now, if these guys get like a free slice of pizza somewhere, then they're going to come down on them with a hammer. But when dealing with a really important issue like this, they're nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be heard. And so we do need some unifying voice to bring everything together. I would say you need to have a person in position like a Roger Goodell that can make sure everyone's on the same page. The Big Ten right now, I'm listening to Greg, I'm listening to David, and listen, guys, if you're going to be a part of a conference, you're going to be a part of a conference through thick and thin. Don't tell me if things get bad now you want to jump ship after you've benefited financially for so many years, despite that your team has suffered on the field, and now things get rough, you want to jump ship. To me, I just don't like that disloyalty. It doesn't sit well with me at all.